My coworker Trent figured out my weakness during my first week at the company 3 years ago when I was eager to help and desperate to make friends after moving to a new city alone. So he started small by asking me to proofread his reports since English was supposedly his second language, even though he grew up in Ohio. Within 6 months, he had trained me like a circus animal to do his entire workload while he took credit for everything. But when he got promoted, using a portfolio that was 90% my work and became my boss, I started documenting 3 years of evidence that would destroy his career. My coworker Trent figured out my weakness during my first week at the company 3 years ago. I was eager to help and desperate to make friends after moving to a new city alone. Trent noticed immediately and started small by asking me to proofread his reports since English was supposedly his second language, even though he grew up in Ohio. Then he needed help formatting spreadsheets because his computer kept crashing, except it worked fine when he played online poker during lunch breaks. Within 6 months, Trent had trained me like a circus animal to do his entire workload while he took credit for everything. The manipulation was so gradual that I barely noticed it happening until it became my normal routine. Trent would show up late every morning claiming traffic was brutal and asking if I could start the morning reports so we wouldn't fall behind as a team. He would take 2-hour lunches for important networking meetings that were actually just naps in his car while I handled client calls pretending he was in another meeting. The worst part was how he made me feel guilty whenever I tried to say no to helping him out. I thought we were friends, but I guess I was wrong about you being someone I could count on when things get tough, he would say, with this wounded expression that made me feel like absolute garbage. Trent had this gift for making his problems sound like emergencies that only I could solve for him. His kid was sick, so could I handle his presentation, but he would definitely make it up to me later, except later never came. His car broke down, so could I finish his quarterly review, but he would totally split the bonus with me, except there was never any bonus to split. His mother was having surgery, so could I cover his biggest client meeting, but he would put in a good word for me with management, except those words were all about his own dedication and leadership skills. Every single favor came with a promise that evaporated the second I delivered what he needed from me. My friends kept telling me Trent was using me, but I genuinely believed we were a team helping each other succeed. Sure, I was doing most of the work, but Trent always made sure to publicly thank his amazing support system during meetings without ever specifically mentioning my name or contributions. He had mastered the art of taking credit without technically lying by using phrases like, "We accomplished and our team delivered," when really he meant I did everything while he scrolled through social media. Other coworkers started assuming Trent was some kind of genius who could juggle impossible workloads while still having time for long lunches and early departures every Friday. But then a senior management position opened up, and Trent submitted a portfolio of work that was 90% mine as his accomplishments. During his promotion interview, when I overheard him through the conference room door saying, "I've had to carry dead weight for too long and I'm ready to build a team of people who actually contribute something valuable to this company." He was talking about me like I was the burden when I had been doing both our jobs for 3 years straight. That afternoon, I started documenting everything, including emails where Trent explicitly asked me to do his work and screenshots of him logged out of systems while I was logged in completing his assignments. I scheduled a meeting with HR and laid out 3 years of evidence showing exactly who had been doing what. HR promised to investigate, but said these situations were complicated and would take time to sort through properly. Meanwhile, Trent got the promotion and immediately became my boss, which meant he could now officially delegate all his work to me. His incompetence became obvious within 2 weeks when he couldn't answer basic questions during executive meetings without texting me frantically for help. He would assign me impossible deadlines, then yell at me for missing them while he spent entire days doing absolutely nothing productive. Other departments started noticing that Trent could never provide updates without checking with his team first, and that his team was just me doing everything. His new boss started asking why simple tasks required so much oversight and why Trent needed constant support for routine responsibilities. Trent's world crumbled fast when I submitted my resignation, and he realized nobody else would cover for him anymore. He begged me to stay and offered me a raise that was still less than what he was making. "You can't just abandon me when I finally have the power to help your career move forward," he said, like he hadn't been blocking my progress for 3 years. Within a month of my departure, Trent was on a performance improvement plan, and within 2 months he was demoted back to his original position, except now everyone knew he was incompetent. I thought I had escaped clean when I got an incredible offer from our biggest competitor with double the salary and actual growth opportunities. The background check was supposed to be routine since I had nothing to hide and glowing references from everyone except Trent. But yesterday, the offer was suddenly withdrawn with no explanation, just a vague email about concerns raised during the verification process. Then I saw Trent's Instagram story from a bar with someone I recognized from the competitor's HR department, and the caption, "Sometimes karma needs a little help." I realized he was destroying my future because I destroyed his present, but I wasn't going to go down without a fight. The proof was right there on his Instagram for everyone to see. I sat at my kitchen table that Monday morning, staring at my phone screen while my coffee got cold. Trent's smug face next to that HR person made my hands shake so bad I almost dropped my phone. This wasn't just about one job anymore. If he could reach into other companies and poison my chances there, he could destroy my entire future in this industry. I took screenshots of everything before he could delete the post. Then I took photos of the screenshots with my other phone, just to be safe. 3 years of dealing with Trent had taught me to always keep backup proof of everything. My brain was racing through options when I remembered my friend from college who became a lawyer. I pulled up her number and typed out a text, asking if what Trent did counted as defamation or interference with employment. My fingers fumbled over the keyboard as I tried to explain the situation in a text message without sounding completely unhinged. She texted back within minutes. "This is serious. Can you meet tomorrow morning? Bring every piece of evidence you have from your time working with him." That evening, I turned my tiny apartment into a war room. Papers covered every surface as I sorted through 3 years of emails, screenshots, and documents. Each folder got labeled by date and type of misconduct. There were emails where Trent flat out admitted he couldn't complete assignments without my help. Messages where he begged me to cover for him because he didn't understand the software. Screenshots showing him logged out of work systems while I was logged in doing his projects. The pile kept growing. My anger from earlier had cooled into something sharper and more focused. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about stopping him from doing this to anyone else. Tuesday morning came fast. I met my lawyer friend at a coffee shop downtown, far from any place Trent might show up. She flipped through my evidence folders while her eyebrows climbed higher and higher. This is more than just credit theft, she said, tapping a finger on one particular email. He billed clients for work he admitted in writing that he never did. That's fraud. She pulled out her phone and started making calls to other lawyers she knew while I sat there nervously destroying a paper napkin into tiny pieces. After the third call, she hung up with this serious smile that made me sit up straighter. You have options, she said, but they all require you to be strategic, not emotional. Can you do that? I nodded, even though part of me wanted to just blast everything on social media and watch Trent burn, but that wouldn't fix my job situation or stop him from hurting others. That afternoon, I opened LinkedIn and started reaching out to former coworkers. My message was simple. I was documenting some workplace issues from our time at the company and wondered if anyone else had similar experiences with a certain person. I didn't name Trent directly, but anyone who knew the situation would understand. Within 2 hours, my inbox started filling up. Most people shared stories about Trent's continued failures after I left, how he kept trying to find new people to manipulate, but everyone had heard the rumors about what happened to me. Then Wednesday morning, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Is this? I'm sorry, I got your number from LinkedIn, a woman's voice said, shaky and nervous. I'm Samantha Foster. I took over your position after you left. My stomach tightened. How can I help you? He's doing it to me too, she said, and then she started crying. But it's worse now because he's desperate. I heard what happened to you, and I've been keeping records of everything, but I don't know what to do. We agreed to meet that evening at a quiet restaurant on the edge of town. Samantha looked exhausted when she walked in, dark circles under her eyes and her hands trembling as she pulled out her phone. Look at this, she said, showing me email after email. Trent explicitly threatening to destroy her career if she didn't cover for his mistakes. Messages where he blamed her for his own failures in front of management. Screenshots of him taking credit for reports she'd written. How long has this been going on? I asked. Since my second week. At first I thought maybe I was overreacting because everyone said Trent was so talented. But then I heard about you from someone in accounting and I started documenting everything. There's something oddly convenient about how Samantha just happens to call right when our narrator needs backup for their case, isn't there? The timing feels almost too perfect. LinkedIn message, immediate responses, then this new victim appears with similar evidence. By Friday morning, our little resistance group had grown. Brandon Torres, who'd worked under Trent 5 years ago, responded to my LinkedIn message with his own horror stories. He'd actually left the entire industry because of what Trent did to him, but he'd kept every piece of evidence. I always thought maybe someday I'd need it, he wrote. I guess that day is now. Friday afternoon, I created a shared folder where Brandon, Samantha, and I could combine our evidence. Watching it grow was both satisfying and sickening. Over 100 pages of proof showing the same pattern over and over. Trent finding eager, helpful people and systematically destroying them while stealing their work. My lawyer friend reviewed everything that evening, her expression getting more serious with each page. This is enough for multiple legal actions, she said. But I need to warn you, Trent won't go down easy. He'll fight dirty. We need someone still inside the company who can tell us what's happening now. Samantha volunteered immediately. I'm already there and he already hates me. What's he going to do? Make my life worse. Monday morning, Samantha sent me a text from work. You need to hear this. Trent just crashed and burned in the executive meeting. Couldn't answer basic questions about his own department. His boss, Nicole Barnes, is asking questions. This was the opening we needed. I spent an hour crafting an email to Nicole Barnes, choosing each word carefully. I didn't mention Trent by name, but I expressed concern about false information being spread about former employees and mentioned I had documentation of serious issues that might interest her. Her response came within 2 hours. I've been investigating some concerns in that department. Could we meet this week? I think we should talk. But Wednesday morning, our plan hit a snag. Samantha texted me in a panic. He knows we've been talking. He's telling everyone I'm stealing company information. He's trying to get me fired today. My hands were steady as I called my lawyer friend. No shaking this time, just cold determination. Send him a cease and desist letter, I said. Now, mention the fraud. Mention criminal charges. Make him scared. The letter went out within an hour, delivered by courier to make sure Trent couldn't claim he never received it. It detailed his defamation of both Samantha and me, and mentioned potential criminal liability for fraudulent billing practices. Thursday morning, Trent's response came through his own lawyer. A bunch of legal language that basically said we were harassing him and he would sue us for damaging his professional reputation. My lawyer actually laughed when she read it. His attorney has no idea what evidence we have, she said. This is a bluff. That afternoon, I met Nicole Barnes at a neutral location, a conference room at a hotel downtown. I'd brought a sample of our evidence, enough to show the pattern, but not everything. Her face went pale as she read email after email, where Trent admitted he couldn't do basic parts of his job. How long did this go on? She asked quietly. 3 years that I personally experienced, but we found evidence going back at least 7 years. She closed the folder and looked at me directly. Would you be willing to present this to our board of directors? They've been asking why the department's performance declined so drastically. Yes, I said, but I need protection for Samantha and anyone else who comes forward. You have it, she said immediately. I'll make sure of that personally. Friday morning, Samantha pulled off something brilliant. She set her phone to record and then went to ask Trent a simple question about a project. He exploded, screaming at her about tasks he'd never actually assigned while threatening to make sure she never worked in the city again. The best part was when he said, I've dealt with traitors before. Ask your friend how her job search is going. That was admission of interfering with my employment. We had him. Friday evening, Brandon called me after years of silence. I'm tired of hiding, he said. I'm tired of letting him win. Count me in. His evidence from 5 years ago showed Trent pulling the exact same tricks when he was just a junior employee. The pattern was clear. This was who Trent had always been. Monday morning, Nicole Barnes started a formal investigation into the department's work over the past 5 years. Every project Trent had claimed credit for would be reviewed. Every report, every presentation, every client deliverable would be examined to verify who actually created it. Trent must have realized he was trapped. Samantha said he spent the entire day frantically trying to recreate years of work overnight, but the quality difference was obvious. The reports he produced were full of errors and clearly didn't match the writing style of the original work. My writing style. Tuesday morning, Trent was still at it, hunched over his computer trying to recreate years of my work. Samantha texted me updates every few hours about his increasingly desperate attempts. The reports he produced looked like a high school student had written them, full of basic errors and missing all the detailed analysis that made the originals valuable. Nicole brought in accounting experts that afternoon to compare the billing records against the actual work delivered. They sat in a conference room with stacks of invoices on one side and Trent's supposed work on the other. The mismatch was obvious even from across the office, according to Samantha. Tuesday morning, my phone rang with a number I recognized, the other company's HR department. My heart started pounding as I answered. "We're reviewing our background check process after receiving some concerning information about one of our employees," Megan Sullivan from their HR said carefully. "Your application might be reconsidered if certain concerns prove to be unfounded." I thanked her and hung up, my hands steady for the first time in days. Things were finally turning around. Thursday afternoon, Nicole called me directly. Her voice was tight with controlled anger. "The accounting experts found something," she said. "Trent billed clients for over 200 hours of work that our IT logs show he never even accessed. The work was all done under your login credentials. This wasn't just stealing credit anymore. This was criminal fraud with real jail time attached to it." Friday morning, my lawyer called me laughing. "You're going to love this," she said. "Trent's attorney just contacted me trying to make a deal. He'll stop spreading lies about you if you drop your complaints." "What did you tell them?" "That it's out of our hands now. The police are investigating criminal fraud. We couldn't stop this, even if we wanted to." That same evening, Samantha called me crying, but they were happy tears this time. Nicole had personally guaranteed her job was safe and apologized for the company's failure to protect employees. They were moving her to a better department with an immediate raise. "She said what you did made this possible," Samantha said through her tears. "I can finally breathe again." Monday morning, my LinkedIn inbox had a message from someone named Ashley Norris. She'd seen our posts about the investigation and wanted to share her own story. Trent had pushed her out of the industry 3 years before me, but she'd kept every piece of evidence just like we had. "I always knew this day would come," she wrote. "I just didn't know if I'd be brave enough to speak up when it did." Tuesday morning, Nicole scheduled an emergency board meeting to discuss the fraud findings and the toxic culture that had allowed Trent to operate for so long. She asked if I would present our evidence directly to the board. My lawyer helped me prepare the presentation that afternoon. We focused on facts, not feelings, organizing the evidence chronologically to show how Trent's behavior escalated when management ignored the warning signs. Wednesday morning, I walked into the boardroom wearing my best suit, carrying 3 years of evidence in neat folders. 12 executives sat around a long table looking serious. At the far end, Trent sat with his lawyer, his face pale and drawn. He looked smaller than I remembered. Nicole introduced me as a key witness in their investigation. I opened my first folder and began. "This email is from March 3 years ago," I said, projecting it onto the screen. "Trent explicitly states he cannot complete the Henderson report without my help." I showed email after email. Trent admitting he didn't understand the software. Trent asking me to log in under his credentials. Trent threatening workers who wouldn't cover for him. The board members' expressions shifted from skepticism to shock as the evidence piled up. Trent tried to interrupt twice, but his own lawyer put a hand on his arm to quiet him. At 11:30, Brandon and Ashley joined by video call to share their experiences. Then, Samantha played her recording of Trent screaming threats at her. The pattern was undeniable. 7 years of abuse affecting at least 6 employees that we knew about. When the board asked Trent to explain the evidence, he just rambled about being set up by jealous former employees who couldn't handle his success. "Can you show us how to run the Morrison analysis?" one board member asked. "That's a basic function of your position." Trent fumbled with the computer for 5 minutes before admitting he didn't know how to open the required program. The board voted unanimously. Trent was fired immediately with no severance pay, and the fraud case would be sent to prosecutors. Christopher Lee from security stood by the door as Trent gathered his things, screaming about lawsuits and revenge while his lawyer tried to calm him down. I watched him leave through the glass doors, Christopher's hand firm on his shoulder. 3 years of fear and frustration walked out with him. Trent spending days trying to recreate years of work overnight is like cramming for a test you never attended class for, except the test is your entire career, and the teacher already knows you cheated. Thursday morning, Nicole called with an unexpected offer. "We want you back," she said. "Senior position, back pay for 3 years of stolen work, and a formal apology from the company." I thought about it for maybe 10 seconds. "Thank you, but no. I'll help you fix your workplace culture and set up better protections, but I've moved on." That evening, the other company called. My job offer was back on the table with an apology and an extra signing bonus for the trouble. They'd fired the HR employee who'd helped Trent interfere with my application. Saturday morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing with texts. Local news was covering the fraud investigation with Trent's name and photo displayed prominently. His LinkedIn profile had vanished overnight, and people who'd praised him publicly were now distancing themselves. Monday morning, I walked into my new office at the other company. My boss introduced me to the team as the person whose work we've been admiring for years, even if someone else was taking credit for it. It felt surreal to be recognized for my actual abilities from day one. People asked my opinion and actually listened to the answers. My name went on my work. My ideas stayed mine. Thursday afternoon, Samantha messaged me with updates from the old company. The department had been completely restructured with new policies requiring documentation of who did what work. She'd been promoted to team lead and was using everything we'd learned from our nightmare to protect others. Friday morning, the prosecutor's office contacted my lawyer. Trent's criminal trial was set for 6 months out, and they felt confident about their case thanks to our evidence. His lawyer was already asking about plea deals, but prosecutors wanted actual jail time. The following Monday, I realized something strange. I hadn't checked Trent's social media in over a week. I've been too busy actually enjoying my job to think about him. When I finally looked, all his accounts were either deleted or set to private. His professional presence had been completely erased. 2 weeks later on a Friday evening, Brandon called with an incredible story. "You'll never believe this," he said, barely able to contain his laughter. "Trent asked me for a character reference for a job application." "You're kidding." I wish I had recorded my response. I just laughed until he hung up. We decided to meet for drinks to celebrate surviving and exposing our shared nightmare. That Friday night, Brandon, Ashley, Samantha, and I sat in a quiet bar, raising our glasses to keeping evidence and supporting each other. "I'm coming back to the industry," Ashley announced. "Knowing that people like Trent can actually face consequences changes everything." We talked for hours about our experiences, but also about our futures. For the first time in years, those futures looked bright. A month later, Monday morning brought an unexpected email from someone named Jordan Akers. They'd just started at my old company and had heard about what I'd done. They thanked me for making the workplace safer and asked for advice on protecting themselves. I spent my lunch break writing Jordan a detailed guide about keeping records, setting boundaries, and recognizing when someone was trying to use them. I copied Samantha, who added her own advice about finding allies and never suffering in silence. The most important important thing, I wrote, is remembering that you're not alone, and it's not your fault if someone tries to take advantage of your helpfulness. 2 weeks later, Nicole sent out a company-wide email that made me stop what I was doing at my new job to read it twice. She announced new zero-tolerance rules for workplace bullying with required training sessions on spotting and reporting abuse. She thanked the brave employees who came forward to expose these problems, though she didn't use our names. Samantha forwarded it to me with just one word: finally. That Wednesday afternoon, I gave a presentation at my new company about streamlining our client reporting process. My boss made sure everyone knew I'd developed the whole system myself, giving me full credit in front of the entire team. After 3 years of being invisible, hearing my own name attached to my work still felt strange, but incredible. Thursday morning the following week, my lawyer forwarded me a news article that made me put down my coffee. Trent had been arrested on fraud charges with bail set at $50,000. The article mentioned he couldn't pay it and would stay in jail until trial. The prosecutor quoted in the article said they had overwhelming evidence for serious prison time. The defendant systematically defrauded multiple clients over several years, the prosecutor had told reporters. We take white-collar crime seriously in this jurisdiction. I realized something that Friday morning. I hadn't thought about Trent in days. My new job kept me busy with actual challenges that used my real skills. My coworkers collaborated instead of competing, and we celebrated each other's successes. During our team lunch, someone complimented my analysis of the quarterly numbers, and nobody tried to claim they'd helped when they hadn't. 2 weeks later, on a Monday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message from my lawyer. The old company had announced a settlement fund for employees who'd been mistreated or forced out by abusive managers. She'd already started preparing my claim for lost wages and missed opportunities. Based on the salary difference and the promotion you should have gotten 3 years ago, she explained over the phone. We're looking at a substantial amount. A month later, I sat in the courtroom gallery watching Trent's plea hearing. He stood in an orange jumpsuit, his shoulders slumped as his lawyer spoke for him. He pled guilty to 5 counts of fraud to avoid going to trial. The judge sentenced him to 2 years in prison, plus restitution to all his victims. When they led him away in handcuffs, he looked smaller than I'd ever seen him. The man who'd seemed untouchable for so long was finally facing real consequences. That afternoon, Samantha texted me a photo from the old company. The department had thrown a party to celebrate their new culture, and everyone had signed a huge card thanking me for starting the change that made their workplace safe. People actually speak up in meetings now, she wrote. They share ideas without fear. You did this. 3 weeks later, the settlement check arrived by certified mail. I sat at my kitchen table staring at more money than I'd ever seen at once. It was enough to pay off my student loans completely and still have enough left for a real emergency fund. For the first time in my adult life, I wouldn't have to tolerate abuse because I desperately needed the paycheck. Monday morning, Jordan Akers emailed me with an update that made me smile. They'd used my record-keeping advice to document another manager trying to steal credit for their work. The company had investigated immediately and resolved the situation within a week. The manager got transferred to a non-supervisory role, Jordan wrote, and I got a commendation for following proper documentation procedures. Thank you for showing me how to protect myself. 2 weeks later, on a Wednesday afternoon, my new boss called me into her office. I'd been promoted based entirely on my own proven abilities and track record. The new title and salary matched the actual work I'd been doing, not someone else's stolen achievements. We're lucky to have someone with your skills and integrity, she said, shaking my hand. Your work speaks for itself. A month later, Ashley called with her own good news. She'd gotten hired at an excellent company and had used our story during negotiations to ensure strong workplace protections were written into her contract. I even got them to add a clause about credit attribution, she said, laughing. They must think I'm paranoid, but I don't care. I'm teaching the junior employees here to document everything from day one. 2 weeks later, I received an invitation to speak at our industry's biggest conference about recognizing and preventing workplace abuse. My first instinct was to say no. I wasn't a public speaker, and the thought of standing in front of hundreds of people made my stomach flip. But then I thought about all the people suffering in silence like I had, like Samantha had, like Brandon and Ashley had. I accepted the invitation. The conference was on a Friday afternoon. I stood at the podium looking out at a sea of faces, my prepared notes in front of me. But once I started talking, I didn't need them. The story poured out naturally, not with anger or bitterness, but with honesty and hope. Documentation saved my career, I told them. But having allies saved my sanity. You don't have to fight these battles alone. The standing ovation afterward lasted so long that the conference organizer had to come back on stage. Later, dozens of people approached me with their own stories, thanking me for giving them permission to speak up. Saturday morning, I woke up to a text from Jordan with a photo attached. It showed the reform department at my old company, with people actually collaborating around a conference table, sticky notes and laptops everywhere, everyone engaged and contributing. This is what you made possible, Jordan had written underneath. Looking at that photo, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, complete peace about everything that had happened. The weight of those 3 years of exploitation, the months of fighting back, all of it finally lifted off my shoulders. Well, that's been quite the journey to share with you all. Makes you wonder if we'll ever really know all the details and motivations behind it. Like the video, it helps more than you think.